What does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? I don't know. But you can guess it since it is Tuesday, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is Facebook. And it is live. Even though the voice is unfamiliar and the presentation is kind of weird, you know that it is time to break on through. Ha 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 ha. Yes, it is time to break on through. With me, your special guest host, Malcolm Tent. But I don't know if this thing is working or not. I look at my little monitor here as I reach into the camera to look at my computer up close and personal to see if the feed is going through, and I see that I, according to my monitor, have 0 viewers. So let's scroll down a little bit and see if we can't get to the bottom of this. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm here. I am here. My monitor says 0, but my computer says that you people are indeed tuned in. So that, my friends, is good. Hello, Callie. Hello, Clinton. Hello, Adam Wolf. Hello, Andy Miller. Hello, everybody out there in Antiseen land. Yes, indeed. Those of you of a certain generation will know what I'm talking about here when I say that Johnny couldn't be here tonight. But me, I'm Ed McMahon, your guest host for tonight. Hello, Alan. Do you know what I'm talking about? Are you one of us old people who understands the meaning of that? When I say that Johnny couldn't be here tonight, but Ed McMahon is filling in, well, that's what happened. To make a very long, ugly, hideous, disgusting story short, Jeff Clayton, the unimpeachable president for life, the heel prez himself, he's a very powerful man, but the law of gravity, there are some things that your arms are just too short to box with, and the law of gravity is one of them. So the law of gravity and a heavy object in the workplace conspired to take Jeff Clayton's telephone out of commission. Yes, Jeff Clayton's phone right now is, at very best, half a phone. And it's the half of a phone that won't allow him to stream live on Break On Through. So, I got a functioning phone. I got a camera. I am Antiseen's official minister of propaganda. And so here I am, your substitute teacher today on Break On Through. Let's get a good old drink of some of that good Danbury tap water in salute to Break On Through and my position here today. The word from Jeff is that he is hopefully getting a new phone later today. And if that happens, he might be doing a sort of appendix Break On Through, just to let everybody know that he is indeed able to break on through in the traditional accepted fashion. But for now, yep, I'm sitting in, and he might even still be at the workplace, the poor guy. I don't know what's going on. I'm just the guest host. So yeah, man, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. Dennis Highland says that Steve Martin was a host on The Tonight Show. I mean, The Tonight Show, especially toward the end of the run, was almost all about the guest hosts. I think that Johnny Carson was on air maybe 3 nights a week or something like that. And even Ed McMahon was only on 3 nights a week. Even Doc Severinsen was only on 3 nights a week. It's getting pretty ridiculous there toward the end. But one thing you know about Break On Through is that this is indeed Jeff Clayton's baby. And that, indeed, if that heavy object had not been dropped on his phone, he would be here with you today, right here, right now. Also archived forever on the Antiseen official YouTube channel. So if you're not watching me live or watching Break On Through live every Tuesday at 5 p.m., you can catch the rerun on the official Antiseen YouTube channel. So really, when you get right down to it, you have no excuse. 0 excuse. That's how many excuses anybody out there has for missing Break On Through. 0 zilch, schmutz, nein, cero, none, nada, nadie. You got nothing, kids. You got nothing but the need to break on through. And since Jeff Clayton has authorized me to occasionally slip in a plug for my own product, and he has been good enough to plug my own product as well, if you hadn't had enough of me today, you can tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. on my personal Facebook page for Tent Talks Tunes, in which I do something kind of similar to what Jeff does. I sort of just park myself in front of the camera and commiserate with you, the people, and talk about music and music-related artifacts and just really cool, fun stuff relating to records and record collecting and being in bands and listening to bands and all that kind of fun stuff. It is also archived on my personal YouTube channel. Okay, so I think we've sort of broken the ice here and we all know each other. We've had the virtual handshake. Let's get down to some breaking on through, shall we? I've got some announcements to make. Announcements on behalf of the unimpeachable president for life. Announcement number 1. The Here to Ruin Your Groove t-shirt pre-sale. It's ending soon. It's running out of time, baby, baby, baby. That t-shirt's out of time. Less than a week to go. 6 calendar days and rapidly counting down if you want to do a pre-sale of the Antiseen Here to Ruin Your Groove t-shirt. Once they are gone, they are gone. Once the pre-sale is done, they ain't no mo. It ain't happening after that. No. If you want one, you got to order it now. N-O-W spells now. Apparently in German, N-A-U spells now. But that's the only word of German I know how to speak. Ja? Ja. It's gut. So yes, Here to Ruin Your Groove t-shirt pre-sales end Monday. Go to the Antiseen.com website. Click on the links. You will find the Antiseen Big Cartel store. That's where the retail action resides. Order now or forever hold your peace. What else is going on in the world of Antiseen? The wild, woolly, wacky world of Antiseen, the boys from Brutalsville, specifically the Ultra lineup. We got gigs. We got gigs. Before I talk about the gigs, I'm going to drop my dollar store specs and see the Clintonzilla. Clintonzilla asks a question. The question Clinton wants to know, what is the best way to clean a record? I got the answer for you right here, because even though you can see the luxurious, sumptuous backdrop that I use normally for Tent Talks Tunes and today for Break On Through, it conceals the busy hubbub of my office here at TPOS, which is my record label and my mail order, which can conveniently be found on eBay, Bandcamp, and Discogs. What do you know about that? Anyway, this is where I do my work, all the packing and the shipping and the mopping and the sweeping and also the record cleaning. Yes, I do all the record cleaning right here. You know, like the great big pile of records I just listed on Discogs. Lots of really cool disco 12-inch singles, R&B 45s, punk rock CDs. I've been listing like a madman for the past few days. And a lot of the stuff does indeed require cleaning. What do I use to clean it with? I'll show you. Bear with me for 1 second, please. What I got here are the 2 staples. Oh boy. 2 staples of record cleaning. One is a small bottle of record cleaning solution. Now, I make my own record cleaning solution using a super secret recipe. The average layperson can use the recipe that I used for many, many years before this. All you take is a regular old bottle of blue window cleaner, any generic blue window cleaner, cut it down to 50% strength, and then take an old ratty t-shirt, or the remnants thereof, and wipe gently in a circular motion after generously spraying the record with the 50% solution. And if you guys want to be really fancy and really swank, you can go to Antiseen's Big Cartel store and order yourselves a Here to Ruin Your Groove t-shirt and use it to clean the grooves on your records. It will not ruin the grooves on your records. It will enhance the grooves on your records. And the Ruin Your Groove shirt will certainly look a lot better than this. So you don't have to bumble around your own personal music library or your home kind of sulking and embarrassed because you're using something that looks like this when you clean your records. No, 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 no. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to. I mean, it's probably good if you were, but you don't have to. You could use a fresh, brand new mail-ordered Antiseen t-shirt / record cleaning cloth. Either way, kids, you win. It's nothing but win-win-win when you're dealing with Antiseen Incorporated, and I will heist my jug of Danbury Tap to that. A toast to us. Did I say something about gigs? I was about to. Yes, I was. I was about to. Alan Christopher says, we got a sub today? Well, what do you think, Alan? What do you think? It's like when you walk into math class in the 11th grade and you see the weird red-headed German lady sitting behind the desk. You know something's up. And I have a lot of stories about that weird red-headed German lady who substitute taught when I was in high school. But now is not the time. Now is not the place. Maybe tomorrow on Tent Talks Tunes is the time and place. But for now, I've got Antiseen giggery to talk about. Yes, we got shows. Shows in this. Not the first, not the second, not the third, but the 40th year in Antiseen's reign as the World Heavyweight Champions of Rock and Roll. We got gigs. Please, class, draw your attention to the board here, where we have a brief outline of upcoming Antiseen gig activity. Please note, March. And tomorrow, it's March. This stuff is creeping up on us real fast. The time, my friends, is nigh. March 9th. At the Switch Yard in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Mississippi, that is M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I, Mississippi. Hattiesburg, the Switch Yard, the hometown of Antiseen guitar player Walt Wheat. We're playing there on March 9th. What do you think of that? That's going to be hot and steamy. The next night, March 10th, at Bears in Shreveport, Louisiana. Antiseen will be treading the boards. And if you ain't careful, we'll be treading on your head with our loud brand of raucous rollus. March 10th. March 11th. At the not the Merry Widow. The venue's been changed. And I do believe I saw our Japanese label president, Dennis Highland, lurking around. Are you lurking there, Dennis, in the comments section? Dennis Highland, please post a comment about the most accurate, up-to-date information on our gig in Mobile. I believe it's at the Alabama Music Box, which was the last place we played. And that was a heck of a show, man. That was a good one. I mean, they're all good, but that was a good one. So, yes, March 11th, Mobile, Alabama. Early show. 98.5% sure that it is the Alabama Music Box. Either way, just go to downtown Mobile on March 11th, wander around, and just listen. Just listen for that Destructo rock. You'll hear it. Just follow the music. Just follow the sound. And that will be Antiseen. And yes, in case people aren't reading the comments, or if you don't know how to read, Alabama Music Box, 7 p.m. with Future Hate and Thelma and the Sleaze. Just by some strange lucky coincidence, Future Hate is the band that Dennis Hyland plays in. Dennis Hyland is not only the U.S. head of Jackhammer Music, which is our Japanese record label, not only is he promoting the show at great personal risk to himself, he is also in Future Hate, the band, one of the bands on the bill with us. Personally, you want to know what I think of Future Hate? You want to know where I stand on the matter of Future Hate? What Future Hate means to me? I love them. Good band. Dennis, plug your ears. Don't listen to any of this because your ego would probably swell up to be as big as mine if you're not careful. I'm just saying that I really like Future Hate and I really enjoyed playing with them. Okay, Dennis, fingers out. It's safe for you to listen now. It's okay. It's okay. What could possibly happen after Mobile, Alabama? Oh my God, how about New Orleans? New Orleans, Louisiana, at a club called Siberia on March 12th. That's 4 out of 4 for Antiseen's 40th in the 3rd month of 2023, March. We're going to march all over you, kids. Trusty Nathan Trusty is in. Hello, good to see you too, sir. Good to be here, ready to break on through in proxy from Danbury, Connecticut. Oh my God, all that happening and we haven't even talked about April yet. WTF. Like honestly, WTF. Antiseen gigs, man. Woo. April 6th. Boggs Social and Supply in Hotlanta, GA. That's Atlanta, Georgia for all you out-of-towners. Oh, yes. We have not played Atlanta in almost exactly 4 years. It'll be just a little bit over 4 years since we played Atlanta. So a welcome return to one of my favorite cities, Atlanta, Georgia. Then the next night, April 7th, at a venue in a town. Maybe you are familiar with it. Charlotte, North Carolina. Does that mean anything to you people out there? Can I get an amen? Can I see a thumbs up? Can I see an angry face? Can I see a broken heart? Can somebody out there show some love for the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina? I'm going to assume yes. I see a couple there sort of dribbling out. Must be all out-of-towners today. I don't know. Oh, there you guys are. Yeah, love for Charlotte. April 7th at the world-famous Milestone. Another venue that the almighty Antiseen has not played in several years. But yes, we will be playing at the Milestone on April 7th. April 8th. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Yes, Chaganaga, Tennessee. April 8th, the Cherry Street Tavern. That's going to be happening. And then on the 9th, the Cobra in Nashville, Tennessee. The Cobra. I personally, as a solo artiste, have played the Cobra in Nashville, Tennessee. I was on tour with my good pal from England, Tim Holhouse. Tim's a real good guy. I've toured the States or parts of the States several times with him. He's taken me over to England twice, Northern Europe once. Tim's a real good guy. And we played a show together at the Cobra. We were playing in the small room. In the big room next door, Richie Ramone was playing, which was kind of interesting. So I can technically say that I played with Richie Ramone. One of my favorite memories of that night was doing the load-in. All the bands were loading in. You know, Richie Ramone, me and Tim. I think we were the only ones, actually. And I just remember that Richie Ramone had a whole bunch of, like, real young St. Mark's Place punks in his band. I guess 2 of them, actually. And I remember very clearly they were doing all the work. They were doing all the loading in. And Richie Ramone was standing in the parking lot just kind of... He just kind of looked lost. Like he didn't really know where he was or why he was there. I said, hello. And he said, hey. And I walked away very quickly because I didn't want to spook the guy. But, yeah, that's my brush with Richie Ramone. And I got to peer in through the window in the next door while they were playing. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that they were playing a lot of deep cuts. And they were playing all the Ramones songs at the right tempo. They weren't playing them at the ultra-fast late 80s, 90s Ramones tempo. It actually sounded like the Ramones. So that was pretty cool. So now I can technically say that I've met Richie, Dee Dee, and I kind of met Joey once, sort of. But that's another story for another day. Maybe on Tent Talks Tunes tomorrow. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, we got these gigs coming up, right? And after that, you should know, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you firmly, but politely, that the main event, September 30th, 2023, Ground Zero, Spartanburg, South Carolina. South Carolina being the state of my birth. Right? Dig that, kids. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina. In the state of my birth, Antiseen is playing the 40th anniversary gig at the Ground Zero in Spartanburg. Details about the undercard, TBA. But if you're like me, you're going to be pretty darned excited when you hear about it. I think it's good. I think it's real good. Excuse me while I burp. I know normally you're not supposed to do that on camera, but you know, we're informal here. We're all friends, right? We're loose. We're mellow. Please allow me to stick my forehead into the camera while I look at some comments. Bruiser Braswell is in town, formerly of Macon, Georgia, currently of Hickory, North Carolina. Hello, Hukan. Hello, Jim. Hello, Flint. Hello, Morticia. Good to see all of you guys there. Jim wants to know if there's been an opening band announced for Nashville. I'm kind of remiss in my duties, even though I am the minister of Appa Pray and a Gray. I don't know. I think Jeff has announced it, but I'm just a substitute teacher. Man, don't ask me. Go to antiseen.com. Maybe something's been posted there. Or keep an eye on Antiseen's official Facebook page. Because these resources are loaded with information, just crawling with data. Practically infested with facts. And you can hear all about them. All right. So, we talked about the Groove t-shirt pre-sale. We talked about the gigs. We're going to mention also that next week's Break On Through, featuring your usual host, Mr. Jeffrey K. Clayton, is going to be held next week on Monday instead of Tuesday. Monday next week instead of Tuesday. And I'm going to guess, let me look at my paper calendar here. Paper calendar, this is where my entire life is organized. I'm going to guess that if Break On Through is on Monday next week, that is because, oh, I know why it is. It's because we're departing to go play some gigs on Tuesday. Therefore, making it impossible for Jeff to break on through in the normal, standard, accepted fashion. I don't know why I'm so bilious today. You guys, please, got to forgive me. So, yes, Break On Through next week on Monday, not Tuesday. Etch that into your memory. Woo! It's getting kind of hot in here, man. It's a very strenuous sort of appearance today on Break On Through, man. I'm breaking a sweat. All right. And I've already mentioned, too, that Jeff just might be dropping an appendicized Break On Through later today if his camera is back in action and ready to go. Now, before we do the official main body of Break On Through today, as I mentioned before, Jeff Clayton has been very gracious in allowing me to use Antiseen as a platform for my own nefarious deeds with my label TPOS. Thank you for that, Jeff. So I'm just going to slide a couple of plugs in real quick before we do the breaking on through-in. Still available, but probably not for a whole heck of a lot longer. And this is actually directly related to Antiseen. Former Antiseen guitar player, merch guy, roadie, archivist, scholar all around. Actually, Mad Brother Ward is still all of those things except guitar player. But I have just released on TPOS the Mad Brother Ward Anthology CD and, for that matter, cassette. Career-spanning retrospective of the Mad Brother, featuring all 3 of his 7-inch EPs, including the first 2 from the 90s, which were produced by Jeff Clayton, his newest one called Ugly Life, tons of unreleased stuff, never before heard tracks, a previously unknown Superstar Jam session with Cocknoose. It's all on here, and everything is mastered from the original tapes. So this is as good as it's ever going to sound. Limited edition, numbered of 100 CDs, deluxe 6-panel gatefold with extensive, and I do mean extensive liner notes by the Mad Brother himself. This one's number 99. Hope you guys can see that. The cassettes are numbered, edition of 108, because it just kind of worked out that way. Each cassette is not only numbered, but hand-signed by the Mad Brother himself. Supplies are very low on the CD and low on the cassette. Order now or regret forever. And of course, oh, and each one comes with a Mad Brother Ward sticker. And of course, tangentially related to the story of Antiseen is the story of this guy right here, Gigi Allen, aka Gigi Allen. For the first ever official release on CD and first ever official reissue on cassette of the Suicide Rehearsals from 1989. You guessed it, baby. It's on my label, TPOS. CDs are hand-numbered, edition of 100. Deluxe. Come on, do not forsake me. Deluxe 6-panel packaging. This one is number 85. The cassette is also numbered. This one's number 72. Supplies, as with Mad Brother Ward, are very low on CDs and pretty darn low on the cassettes. So hit me up, either via Discogs, eBay, or Bandcamp, or me personally, TPOS, Malcolm Tent. And I will also mention finally that I released on vinyl a full-length LP of readings by Aleister Crowley, recorded in 1919. This is brand new, out as of yesterday. This is also found through the usual channels, by me, through them. And that is my bout of self-promotion. So what do you say, kids? What do you say we do some breaking on through-in? Yeah, break on through. Ah, that Danbury tap water is the pause that refreshes. It hasn't killed me yet. All that good mercury that they dumped in the water supply those decades ago, it's still there, you know. It's been sinking to the bottom for decades and decades, but it's still there in some sort of suspension or another. People say, Malcolm Tent, where do you get your superpowers? I just revealed the secret to you. So speaking of revealing secrets, I thought it might be kind of cool to go on, break on through and talk about some of the inside information that I've got as not only the minister of Gone, take that, bots. Not only as the Minister of Public Relations, the Minister of Information, but as the bass player for Antiseen. I know a couple of things about the inner workings of the music of Antiseen, and I thought it might be fun to share some of that with yous guys. I know that this has been talked about before. I actually did an entire episode a long time ago on Tent Talks Tunes about my own personal gear and my own setup in the band, but at the time I was using a super cheap phone with a really bad internet connection, and I don't even know if I uploaded that one to my YouTube channel or not, just because the production quality was so crappy. We're doing a lot better now. So if you guys remember that episode from way on back, please forgive me. If you guys have never seen it before, here's some new information for you. And even those of you who did see it back then, you can actually see it and hear it a lot more clearly now than you ever could. So I was talking to both Walt Wheat, current Antiseen guitar player, and Mad Brother Ward, former Antiseen guitar player, about gear and stuff and how Antiseen gets the sound that Antiseen gets. And Walt actually, he said something really funny. After giving me this entire list of his equipment and the settings and everything, he said, that's an awful lot of work just to play 8 notes. And I thought that was really funny, but, you know, also really true, because I think Jeff Clayton himself has said that Antiseen music ain't rocket science, but it's not simple. You know, the music that we play is not, it's like, how do you put it? It's not simple. You know, there are so many tricks and so many swerves in your average Antiseen song. Like, for example, when we did the recording for the People's Choice album a couple of weeks ago, we had to learn 13 songs basically from scratch. Because, well, with the exception of one, we had never played any of those songs live as a band. You know, maybe some of the past iterations of the band had played a couple of these songs, but even then, not much. So we're having to learn these songs as a group from scratch, and it was, for, you know, a while, it was like hair-pulling time, because every one of these songs has got just a little bit of a swerve or a little bit of a trick or a little bit of a hook that somebody would get hung up on, quite often me. And we really had to sit down and analyze what it was. You know, what do you do here? You think you're supposed to do X at this point in the song, but in reality, you're supposed to do Y, and so on and so forth. It's very subtle, but it's all very important, because when you're playing music like this, which is essentially based on 3 chords, sometimes 2, you got to keep it interesting. You really have to work to make sure that nothing sounds exactly like anything else. And once you get into the groove, and once you do start playing it and you listen to the songs with a critical ear, you can definitely hear those tricks and those swerves. And you can definitely hear why one song, which might have the exact same chords as another song, is still a completely different song. A lot of it relies on the vocal melodies and, of course, the lyrics, but a lot of it also relies on the way the song is structured, the way it's put together, and the way it's played. Like, you'd be surprised. I'd be surprised. And actually, Clinton is talking about this right now. You'd be surprised about the differences in strumming a song. You don't, or just speaking for myself, you know, when I'm playing the bass to an Antiseen song, it's not all just do for 45 minutes. There's all kinds of strumming, hard picking, soft picking, muting, chording, many different ways to approach a song. And an awful lot of it depends on the rhythm. And of course, the rhythm is determined by the drummer. In our case, Sir Barry Hannibal. And, you know, the swing and the groove are absolutely critical to playing this music. And so when the rhythm is established, you've got to play along with that rhythm. At least I, as the bass player, do. I have to play and lock in with the swing, with the groove. And that involves any number of different ways of actually picking the song, plucking it out on the strings. Really, honestly, no two are alike. And it's actually a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun to, as a bass player, sink my teeth into the rhythms of these songs and to lock into that rhythm and make it groove the way it's supposed to groove. And when it finally clicks and when it settles into place and when that groove is there and you can't help but shake a tail feather to it, man, it feels good. Can I get an amen to that from people out there in the audience who get to see Antiseen when the death train is rocking down the tracks and your head has just got to bob, man, and your shoulders have just got to weave? You know that's when it's really happening, man. And it is so important that the band is in the pocket, to use the parlance. You got to be in the pocket. It is critical. It is nothing that you can take for granted. It is nothing you can fake. It's got to be there. Woo, yeah, I see some love, baby. Let's see, we got some comments from John Adam. Yes, Clinton Zilla has just summed it all up. He says, the strumming gets me sometimes. Chords might be easy, but timing and all that is tricky. It definitely is. Mark Deal, another salient observation from Mark Deal. Less is more, but simple is not easy. So true, so true. And a lot of that, as I'm finding out, as I get more and more involved in the recording process, a lot of that is involved with the production of the albums. And Antiseen has been referred to on a number of occasions as the Redneck Ramones, which is a sobriquet that we do not necessarily refute. We kind of like it, actually. The Redneck Ramones, to be mentioned in any light as a descriptor with the Ramones is okay in my book. Especially if you go back and listen to a Ramones album, especially the first three, and Road to Ruin, and Too Tough to Die. The ones that have heavy-duty involvement by Tommy Ramone in the production department. Those albums are some of the best produced albums I've ever heard. And let me tell you, I've heard a lot of albums. You want to know why? Tell me, do you want to know why? You want to know why? You want to know what makes them the best produced albums ever? The ones that Tommy Ramone worked on or had a lot of input in? You want to know why? I don't know if anybody wants to know why. The switchboard's not lighting up. Do I detect a lack of interest here? What's going on? Oh, gosh darn, it was just that pesky old time delay. Yes, people do want to know what's going on. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, get some of the latest comments going on here. Let's see. Oh, boy, look at all that. Now, okay, here's a question from Clinton. He wants to know if Barry being the drummer and ex-bass player, does that help you out learning the songs or make it harder? Does having Barry being the drummer and bass player make it easier or harder to learn the songs? I will say yes. The answer to that question is yes. The reason being, excuse me, the reason being that he's got a unique perspective because I never really thought about that. He's the only dude who's ever had both duties in the band. The only time, like, playing with Barry for me is very easy because he's solid. He's rock solid. He's got great meter. And so even if like I'm in the middle of a song and I start to get lost or drift, all I have to do is listen to what he's playing. Because a lot of times, and Jeff has talked about this before, a lot of times when we practice, we do it without Jeff. It's usually just me and Barry and Walt. And before that, it was me and Barry and Russ. So we'd be practicing without vocals. And when you're doing that, it can get very easy to get lost in a song because the vocals are really critical for, you know, cueing us as to where we are. But Barry, and once again, this falls into what was said earlier about simple not being easy, Barry provides a lot of the cues for where the song is supposed to be and where it's going. You listen to a drum fill or a roll or a hi-hat pattern or a snare roll or something. There's always some kind of cue to let you know where you are in the song. And so if I start to get lost and we don't have vocals, all I got to do is just listen to what he's playing. And I can find my spot. I will probably still screw up anyway, but at least I'll know what it is I'm screwing up. Mea culpa. Mea culpa. Anyway, so the answer is yes. In that regard, it makes it easier. The only way it makes it maybe a little more difficult is because as bass player, Barry had his own way of playing a lot of these songs. He had a very specific way that he played bass on these things. And of course, I've got my own style. So I wouldn't say that we butt heads per se, but we do end up really dissecting different approaches to playing the bass in these songs. And I will usually go with what he suggests, because what he suggests is usually really good. Sometimes I will insist on playing it my way, and that's cool because Barry understands that I'm the bass player now, and that's what I'm there for, is to play the bass and to bring my own stamp and my own personality to it. And so it's cool. You know, we basically talk about these things a lot. We don't, you know, we've never fought or anything about it. It's all about the song and the best way to approach the song. And really, at the end of the day, the way of playing that serves the song best is what's going to be done. It doesn't matter whose idea it is. It's what makes the song the best. So I hope that answered your question. Got some more stuff here. Yeah, Stefan has got a lot of comments. And going back to one of Stefan's earlier comments about Tommy Ramone's production being amazing. Yes. Why? Because, gotta hydrate here, guys. When you listen to a Ramones album, on its surface, it just sounds like, you know, the four brothers from Long Island or Queens, wherever they were from, playing three chords. You know, lobotomy, and, you know, I want to be well. It sounds very simple. But when you listen, like really listen with a critical ear, you can hear all kinds of stuff going on. You can hear acoustic guitars. You can hear pianos, organs, glockenspiels. You can hear backing vocals, like really tastefully done backing vocals. In your average Ramones album with Tommy producing, there are just layers and layers and layers of sounds, but you don't hear them all blaring at you simultaneously. You gotta listen for them. And everything that's there, whether it's a glockenspiel or an acoustic guitar, is there to underpin the melody of the song and to move the song forward. It's not necessarily there so you can hear a glockenspiel solo. It's there because the notes played on the glockenspiel underscore the notes played on the acoustic guitar, which is practically inaudible, but it supports the main melody of the song. I mean, it's really, really simple, but really, really complex at the same time. It's the kind of thing that could be done totally wrong, but Tommy Ramone did it totally right. And that gets back to Antiseen and our albums. I would never be presumptuous to say that we are as good as Tommy Ramone ever was. Or I should say specifically Barry, because he's the main producer on the albums. But everybody chips in with ideas, and everybody's got thoughts about what the song is supposed to sound like and what's supposed to go into the production. Excuse me. There's a lot of similarities in that. When you listen to an Antiseen album, there's usually more going on to the production than the ear might reveal immediately. And that's fascinating. You know, to me, that as a fan and now member of the group, that really, really fascinates me because it's something I never really thought about before. But now being involved in the process, I can hear it. And on occasion, contribute a little bit to it. So that is the sort of trick, if you will, that makes the very simple songs work. Instead of just going in and bashing out 15 songs that sound exactly alike with the same production and the same engineering and the same tones, you use production on an album in order to make each song distinct. And a lot of times those differences are very subtle, but a little subtlety goes a long way. So production, the actual playing of the songs, and the writing of the songs, and the sounds of the songs. And that's when we start getting into the gear and the tech, which is very interesting. You see, now I'm punk rock to the max. I am not really a gearhead in the slightest bit, although I'm getting a lot more into it because as I understand what you can actually do with gear and what you can actually achieve when you know what you're doing with gear, it kind of makes sense to me. Like my entire life, I've been playing in bands since 1983, and really, for the most part, up until I joined Antiseen, my MO was just strap on the guitar, plug it into an amp, and crank it up really loud. That was it. Not a whole lot of thought. The only exception being with I have an improv noise rock band called Ultra Bunny. And Ultra Bunny, when I play bass with Ultra Bunny, lots of pedals, lots of effects, lots of real hardcore noise making stuff. So I could get into that. But playing with Antiseen and having to sculpt a sound and perfect a sound and make it a sound that's going to be distinctive took some work. Took a little bit of work. And so I'm going to share with you my basic setup. And I'm very happy about this. I want to show this all off. This is the handicraft of Walt Wheat. Did I mention that Walt is the guitar player for Antiseen and the guitar player for Before I Hang from Hattiesburg, Mississippi? Walt Wheat executed this. If anybody has seen me in my tenure with Antiseen up until recently, you might have noticed that I was playing a bass guitar that was wrapped up in black electrical tape. That was my extremely cheap punk rock DIY attempt to get a unique looking bass that was all black. So we're sitting around the band round table a few months ago, and I overheard Walt talking to one of the boys about how he did leather work. I said, Walt, you do leather work? He said, yeah. I said, Walt, can you craft for me a black leather bass guitar? He said, yeah. So I gave him my bass guitar. And by the way, Stephen Barkus has asked a question. He says, how many CDs do Antiseen have? He only has 4 CDs by Antiseen. Stephen, you have only gotten one little tiny thimbleful out of the ice cream barrel. Antiseen has got a lot. L-O-T. Lot of releases on CD. I recommend that you hop on over to Discogs, or talk to me, or talk to Jeff Clayton, or go to the Antiseen Big Cartel store and start digging. There is a lot to be had by Antiseen on CD, and guess what? There's gonna be more. More. So for all you CD aficionados out there, fasten your seatbelts. We're gonna bury you in product. So anyway, yes, Cali, more than anyone can count. That is true. And the vinyl's even worse. Or is that better? Anyway, I had my own cheap DIY version of a black bass. What I really wanted was something like this. Black leather. Hand-stitched black leather. Front, side, back. Black leather with a custom resin fretboard and a black leather headstock. Walt Wheat created this. It's the only one on planet Earth. But what is it is a PVT-20 bass. PVT-20. I purchased it in 1985, used for 125 bucks. Everything about it is stock, including the extremely weird PV pickups. Or pickup, I guess, as the case may be. It's a single pickup. I have no idea what this pickup is made of. But man, it's got a nasty sound to it. It's got a real nasty bite. And it was mainly because of that bite that that stock PV pickup provides that I use it. I've been known to use a Fender Precision for a long time. With Ultra Bunny, I've always used a Fender Precision. But it's got a much warmer, kind of rounded sound to it. And Antiseen needs a little more attack. So the PVT-20 won out because of that stock pickup it's got. And man, it looks good in black leather, don't you think? I saw an awful lot of comments and loves and things like that. But yeah, the black leather, and somebody just commented on the fretboard. I'll mention too, not only is the fretboard resined, but the dot frets have one color scheme, and the non-dot frets have another color scheme. Look at that. That's pretty cool. That's Walt Wheat and his attention to detail. So anyway, PVT-20, stock pickup, and then I actually have a new cabinet and head setup, which we're going to be debuting at the shows in March in a live setting. For a long time, I was using Barry Hannibal's Mesa Boogie setup. He had a Mesa, I think it was a Mesa 800 head with a set of matching 215 cabs. And when Russ was in the band, this is where I get to talk about what Russ used to play. Russ, I took notes, was using, his guitar of choice was newer Telecasters, new Fender Telecasters, going through a high-watt lead 50R head, going into this customized high-watt 412 cab that he found, and a Boss, I can read my own handwriting, a Boss OS2 distortion / overdrive pedal. See, now Russ had kind of a thankless position, sort of, because, you know, he took over after Joe Young passed along. And so there were always going to be those inevitable comparisons between Joe Young and the new guy. You know, it's inevitable. There's always going to be some kind of backlash and some kind of blowback. So Russ, you know, as I was talking to him over the years when he was in the band, and still to this day, Russ was always very conscious about not doing exactly what Joe did, which is why Russ used the high watt amps instead of the Fender Twin. And, you know, a modern Telecaster instead of a vintage Telecaster, and a different overdrive pedal, because Joe, as you all may know, he used a vintage pre-CBS Fender Twin amp and vintage pre-CBS Fender Telecaster guitar. And, you know, that's how he got that incredible giant-sized electric razor sound of his. And his pedal, I asked both those guys about what a Boss D1 pedal. D1 or DI? Must be D1. A Boss D1 pedal with the vintage Tele and the vintage Fender Twin, with whatever god-awful settings he put. That's how he got that all high-end, no bottom-end, huge electric razor sound. So, of course, that's the signature guitar sound for Antiseen, and Russ wanted to do it justice, but of course had to do it in his own style, in his own fashion, and, you know, his own identity. And so I guess he dicked around a lot with a few different guitars and a couple different amps, but what he finally settled on as his array of choice was the modern-day Tele, the high-watt head, the custom high-watt cab, excuse me, and the Boss pedal. And I must say he did a pretty good job with it. He really did a good job with it. So the time came for Russ to depart and for Walt to step in. And, you know, of course, by now enough time has passed to where direct comparisons between the new guy and Joe are not really going to be made, you know, because we've already, you know, Antiseen has already proven that Antiseen ain't going to quit, and that we're not stopping, and that the sound is intact, and that the integrity of the sound is guaranteed. No one's going to futz with the sound. What you heard and what you've fallen in love with since 1983 is, that's it. You're not going to hear us going industrial. You're not going to hear us going techno. You're not going to hear us going new metal. That sound is etched in stone. And so enough time has passed to where the new guy can come in and maybe safely go back to the nuts and bolts of that sound, which is going back to using the Fender Twin amp, even though Walt uses a newer Fender Twin. And I guess he's still, you know, I took notes. He also uses a modern day Fender Telecaster. So he's got that through a newer Fender Twin. And here's where things get really, really interesting. Okay. So he's using the modern day Fender Tele, a modern day Fender Twin. He's gone back to using the Boss D1 pedal, which was Joe's pedal of choice. The difference between what Walt does and what Joe did is that Walt is running stereo now. On his side of the stage, he's got the Fender Twin. On my side of the stage, he's got a Mesa dual rectifier amp, which from my limited understanding is kind of like the Mesa equivalent of a Fender Twin. So he's running stereo guitars. And my friends, I'm here to tell you, that sound is badass. You've got the super high-end, all high-frequency Fender on stage right, and you've got more of like a kind of like a mid-range, growly Mesa on the left. And the two come at you in a pincher's movement. So in order to compete with that noise, what I've had to do now is switch the gear a little bit. Okay? The one thing about the Mesa bass rig I was using that belonged to Sir Barry Hannibal is that that thing weighed not a fucking ton, but about 5 fucking tons. Notice I just used profanity. That's how heavy, and I mean heavy, that Mesa setup is. Like the head, the 800 head that I was using, I could hardly pick the damn thing up. All right, I'm strong for my size, but I weigh 136 pounds. I tried to pick up that Mesa head once at my first gig with Antiseen in Atlanta, and I just about herniated my entire body. I was a walking hernia after trying that. I said, no more. No more. Never mind those Mesa 215 cabs. Oh my God. But boy, do they sound good. Oh, they sounded good. They sounded real good. Running those stereo cabs with Walt's stereo guitar setup. Vaporizing. Vaporizing. As a fan, it sounded damn good. So, just for the sake of practicality, and also to switch things up just a little tiny bit, I have now switched over to a Gallon-Kruger 800 solid state head because the Mesa was tubes. And hold on a second, guys. I detect some trouble coming here. The trouble is in the person of one internet celebrity who's running the risk of dislodging the camera. I'm going to pick him up gently and bring him on over for everybody to say hi to Harry the cat. Harry the cat is in the house. The one-eared wonder. The one-fanged wonder. Harry the cat is here. Everybody wants to say hello to Harry? Say hello to Harry. And I will, this guy is something else, man. He almost knocked that camera over, but I intercepted him. He's my boy. Look at this guy. Just a cute kitty or what? He doesn't want to be known as a cute kitty, but he is. He's my cutie boy. Harry is in the house. So anyway, Gallon-Kruger solid state bass head, one of Barry's Mesa 215 cabs, which is on my side of the stage, and then an SWR 212 cab on Walt's side of the stage. And so it's kind of the same deal. You get two different nasty bass frequencies going at one time. And so really, for the first time ever, Antiseen is playing stereo coming at you. And for me, that's like a dream come true, because I just love stereo. When I mix recordings and stuff, if I can at all get away with hard panning the instruments, I do it, because I just love the sound of the two different frequencies coming at you from two different directions. To me, that is just like sonic heaven. And now we're doing it. Bye, Harry. And now we're doing that live on stage with Antiseen. And I hope that addressed the issue that I was going to address, that of some of the nuts and bolts and mechanics of Antiseen live sonically and in the studio sonically. If it didn't, you're out of luck, because I'm about to sign off. I'm done, kids. I've been yapping for a little more than an hour at this point, and the larynx is a little bit raw, so I'm going to get on out of here. I learned a long time ago that an hour talking is about my limit, so I'm done. I hope you guys enjoyed this here, the substitute teacher edition of Break On Through. As I mentioned before, Jeff should be back sooner than later with his brand new phone, and that next week's Break On Through will be on Monday, not Tuesday. But you can rely on Jeff to keep you posted about all of that. One last toot of my own horn, in case you haven't already. Check out my label, TPOS. I've released several Antiseen products, and many, many products by many, many, many other artists. All of them damn good. Discogs, eBay, Bandcamp. Antiseen YouTube channel. Subscribe. Very important that you do so. And my YouTube channel, as long as we're at it, because you're already there, so why not? I'm going to actually go to YouTube right now and upload this episode of Break On Through for your viewing pleasure. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow on Tent Talks Tunes. If not, maybe I'll see you on the road at some of our shows. And if not, I don't know what else to say. I tried. Honestly, I tried. I really did. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Nutmeg State.